Like the first 3 years, it made no sense to carry on. Like me and Adam didn't take any money out of Kappo for 5 years. The way we've done it is so unconventional. Like up to recently, we didn't have Adobe Illustrator, which to like people in the clothing game will be like, what? You know, like we didn't have a designer, we didn't have a merchandiser. We are employing people now on like more than I was earning just over 18 months ago. For me, it's always been freedom. Like being tied to a desk 9 till 5 just wasn't for me. Or I've gone through valuations and people are mentioning numbers and I'm like, what? You know, like nobody wanted to know 2 years ago.
Dan, thanks for coming down. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks for inviting us.
King of Kappo, right? Excited to have you, buddy. Nick, good to have you as always, buddy.
Always.
You, mate. So look, tell us, Dan, what does greatness mean to you? What are the characteristic traits you believe that makes you someone great?
Yeah, so for me, like, examples of like the greatest people in every field, it is like, I know we spoke a little bit before about just being relentless, you know, persistent, and all the greats, like day in, day out, they're just there, aren't they? Or every hour God send, and, you know, just never ever letting up. You know, you might be the best today, you might be the best tomorrow, but you ever get complacent. You know, you might be good for a day or a week, but the greatest are there like year in, year out, consistently pushing. You know, it's like top of one mountain is bottom of another sort of thing, isn't it? And they're just relentless to, and it's kind of what I've found, to be fair, is like when, as you were going through your journey, you think, when I get there, I'll be happy, like the gold medal syndrome thing of, you get there and it means nothing, you know, you're like, right, what's next? You know, and it's like Ronaldo, for example, or McGregor, it's like the mindset that they have of, they will just, all right, comes across a little bit arrogant at times, but it's just the fact that they want to be the best day in, day out, and they just won't let up.
The relentless energy, as in like, there's the striving to also maintain. Like people, well, again, we spoke beforehand, people looking for that golden nugget. Well, it's not going to come.
No,
it's just like it's not going to come at all. People want to do one thing and everything go boom. They don't see that. As I say on most podcasts, they see the tip of the iceberg where you're doing well. They don't see the grind, and the thing that drives you to do what you do.
And if they could see that grind, they could see it before starting any type of journey, they won't fucking do it, majority would they? So look, awesome. So with you, that being said, and understanding you as a person, I want to take it all the way back before we get to your successes of where you are now and the brand and the business that you've built from literally fucking nothing, mate. Take it all the way back. So the person who's sat in front of us now and all those things you've just told us that you believe makes someone great, take us back to any kind of influence in your upbringing when you were younger. Where were you brought up, and any of your surroundings that might have, you know, brought you to where you are? Yeah,
so like I had a pretty, normal upbringing, like amazing family, mum, dad sort of thing. So, but like live in Rishton, which is just outside Blackburn. Went to a good primary school, good high school sort of thing. Never wanted for anything with like my family, so can't say I've ever had any like early family troubles, you know, or anything like that. Literally had best mum and dad you could wish for, really, sort of thing. And family, grandparents, aunties, uncles, had an amazing family sort of thing. Then I like went down the football route from pretty early age. I was at like Blackburn Academy from like 8 onwards, really.
Nice.
So that was kind of my life, literally 3-4 times a week, mum and dad, every training session, every like game, home and away. So that was like from then to my teenage years, really, alongside school and everything. But I thought, you know, we all do, don't we? Thought we were going to be the footballer, and at points it looked like I might be when I was younger. And then up to like being 15, got let go for being too small, basically, physically, which was a bit of an experience in itself, because all of a sudden you go from thinking I'm going to be playing at Premiership and earning X amount of money to the delusion of that when you're younger, do you know what I mean? And obviously as you get older you realise that's not like 1%, 0.1% are ever going to do that. So obviously that didn't work out. Then I went to college still to play football, so it was kind of still trying to go down the football route, really, and fight my way back into the pro game, which didn't really happen, but I stuck with it. Did football degree at college, and then football at college, then into uni degree, sports coaching, all still while playing football, and then going into like non-league football, which from then I've stuck with to now, really. But yeah, then obviously early 20s, my dad, well, my brother, sorry, before my dad, my brother had like a heart condition, long story short, where you have like two main arteries in your heart that everyone has, and one of them wasn't connected basically, and it was like a miracle that it was here because he'd had a vein sprouted from his heart. So basically where we have an artery, he had a vein, so every time he exerted himself, he sort of passed out. So they had like quite a lot of surgery and X, Y and Z.
So will he be in the opposite of you then, say, like me, obviously a little bit of a medical background, you're obviously quite active doing your football stuff, trying to grow and grow there. Was he a little bit the opposite, where he had to be very, very careful with everything that he did there?
He was very active going to the gym, quite heavily into his bodybuilding, so, and that's kind of where the problems from, because like when he was doing bench press or exerting himself, he was passing out in gym, so that's when he had all the tests and they found out what had gone on, so then he had to have the surgery and cut back on sort of they told him he had to cut back on the physical side, which he didn't. You know, it was like he wanted to live his life on his terms, even though it was probably the last thing he should have done. And then, long story short, like I'd gone out one Sunday, stayed at my mate's house. Sorry, one Saturday, stayed at my mate's house. Woke up on a Sunday, and my dad rung me to say, basically, your brother's in hospital. He's got chest infection, but he's fine. You know, like they're just giving him some antibiotics. He'll be fine in a day or two. So I literally set off from Bolton, which is like half an hour away, and then by the time I'd got to the hospital in Blackburn, like my dad was, as I drove in, my dad was stood in the car park like crying, and my mum was like had his arm, and I like never ever seen my dad cry, and I like just knew straight away something weren't right, obviously. Wow. So yeah, got into the car park and basically said your brother's passed away, sort of thing. Wow. So.
What year was that done?
So that was 2015.
Is this the point? So is this the point when you mentioned football? What stage of football were you at during that time period?
So
as well?
Again, I was still like pursuing it really. Probably a bit deluded at the time. Like, looking back, I was still in and around. Like I got to like Conference North level, probably a year or two after that, and I was doing all right. I know I've jumped around a bit there from your original question.
No.
So yeah, 2015 that happened. So I would be, how old will I be then? 21, 22 when my brother died. Right. And like I say, like my upbringing and background to then, like I'd still had all my grandparents. Like I'd never lost anyone. Do you know what I mean? Never really had anyone ill, or I'd had like
it's
really
first big major thing in your life.
So,
really.
And then literally walked, not to be too graphic with it, but like walked into hospital and took me in to see my brother, and your brother's just led on table sort of thing, which not to like
no
sympathy or anything, but it's like fucking hell.
Yeah, of course it is,
sure. Like it's just to go then to see that, and it was just a pivotal moment in your life, you know, that even now I still, and that you never will forget it sort of thing. But and then leading on to what happened with my dad later on, which was a similar scenario but different in a way, because like my brother passed away suddenly, even though he was ill, don't get me wrong, but it was sudden, whereas with my dad it was like a gradual, and I knew what was happening sort of thing. So it was two completely different experiences. But
did it change your perspective on anything? Yeah,
both of them massively. I've always thinking about it on the way here, like I've always been a bit different, I think, and I know like that's probably a typical thing.
In what sense? What do you mean?
Just like the way I've outlook on life, and you know, like don't get me wrong, I've been out like every other lad and done, you know, all wanted to go out with your mates, done this, that, and the other. But I always wanted more from life. Now I know that. What does that mean? You know, it was like, and I ended up doing a standard 9-to-5 job, but I was never satisfied with it. I was always like frustrated as hell. Like really good people work there, work for like local authority and government. It was what you would call a good job, really. Like salary was
comfortable,
okay. Like it's funny actually, because I listened to a podcast with like Jimmy Carr, and he says like, what's the salary that you give you to walk away from your dreams, sort of thing. And it is, isn't it? Like people just go for the comfort of a salary,
just to fade into the background.
Yeah, but then leading on from that, I think my dad was a big part of that, because my dad was very risk averse and get a good job, and pushed me to football. Don't get me wrong, I had the best dad ever. Do you know what I mean? He was my best mate, but he was very much like risk averse, you know, and like if even now I like laugh with stuff like investment we've made into like footwear and the bills and commitments we've made to like rent, and like my dad would be absolutely pulling his hair out like if it goes wrong, you know what I mean? But then for me and Adam now, it's like, what's the worst can happen?
Adam being your business partner at Kappo as well.
Business partner, I will get onto that because I did meet him through football as well.
So with that, I mean, even just straight into it there, that's going up to that early age of your 20s, you've experienced a fucking lot already there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Before, then anyone can even ever experience, you know, I can't say I've experienced it. You know, I'm fortunate to have my dad, and obviously that's a different story, what my dad went through at the time and came through the other side, which I was fortunate of. Was from a younger age, when you think about all the, you know, all the triumphant moments of these big life-defining moments that happen personally, that can give you a lot of grief and sorrow. What goes on in your head in those moments to actually pick yourself up to say, well, do you know what? Because you could go a different route. So, for example, I were hitting the bottle, like when my dad got his brain infection and they put him in clinical one, we literally thought that's it over. Yeah. Mine, for a few months, I started hitting the bottle. And then I realised it took my missus to shake me up and fucking slap me about and say, wake up, this ain't you. Yeah. And then realise, again, like you said, I wanted more, I wanted to be more. And that always came from wanting to be better than my dad for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. But what, in those moments of you having all that, you know, trauma and all these things that are really raw and emotional, what does Dan do to get himself back in a position to say, right, I've got to carry on moving forward and make something of myself and make something of my life, because it could go a total opposite way, bud.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with me, it was probably after my dad where that sort of took place, like that 12 months following my dad passing, do you know what I mean? Like because it was 2015 when I lost my brother, and then 2017 was when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, basically. So for that like next 9, it was like a 10-11 month period, it was like fully focused on my dad. But football wise at that point, I was actually like, that's when I got to like the Conference North level, and you know there was apparently people watching and I was doing all right, do you know what I mean? But then it literally coincided with my dad getting diagnosed with cancer, so I took the decision to like drop 2 levels of football. When it was like, in football terms, it was like the completely wrong thing to do, you know, like strike while the iron's hot sort of thing in football. But I would do the same thing again, do you know what I mean? Because I didn't end up for 6 months because of his illness. I didn't really play anywhere because he had chemotherapy, then he had surgery, which was supposedly to cure it, and then they were like, basically, long story short, he had a 9-hour surgery for esophageal cancer, which basically your esophagus and your stomach, they cut it and join it, basically. So it is major surgery, but it was supposed to cure it. But then 4 days after his surgery, he had a cardiac arrest as a complication of it. So me and my mum were sleeping at the hospital, and literally the phone in the hotel rung, and there was like, you need to come immediately, it's the head of ICU. Sorry, my mum had already gone across to see my dad, and then the phone rung when I were in the shower. So like, it's the head of ICU, you need to come immediately. I was like, well, what's going on? But they just wouldn't, you just need to come immediately. So you're like, shit, you know, literally run straight across, walked into ICU, and they'd like shepherded me and my mum into this room and just said, your dad's had a cardiac arrest, he's in like critical condition. They actually said, we don't think he's going to make it. Long story short, he did. He actually recovered from the cardiac arrest. He was like in intensive care for 4 weeks, and like tracheotomy, and like
it's a lot like
that. Going back to like family, I know I'm jumping a little bit, but I've always been really family orientated, like gone to visit my grandparents every week when I was younger, and my mum and dad, like told them I loved them every night, you know. Jumping again, like when I did lose him, and even now, I don't really have any regrets. Do you know? I wish he was here. That's the only thing. But I don't look back and think, fucking hell, I wish I'd have took me. Wish I'd have.
Yeah, you did
I
everything.
I didn't take him for granted, or I don't wish I'd have spent more time with him, or like I had the best dad I could have had, and I had the best relationship with him, so I don't really have any regrets.
It's those moments when you realise actually nothing else really matters.
Yeah, and that's, I know I touched on it earlier, like towards the end of his illness, that is literally it. You realise, like me and my mum slept in his hospital room with him for like the last 2.5-3 weeks before he went to the hospice, and You were in the same clothes every day. Nothing else in the world mattered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could, and it's just absolutely nothing else in the world mattered. Yeah. And I would have done anything to stop it. You know, and I just felt so powerless.
Yeah.
We've had these conversations a little bit about. Obviously, obviously we're transferring that to a little bit of business. There are ups and there are downs, but I remember me working in clinics. I'm constantly seeing clients, and I'm thinking, right, I can't let this client know. I can't do this. I've got this to do. I've got this to do. And then my sister got hit by a car.
Yeah.
I got a phone call mid-session with someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my mum doesn't usually ring me. Not this time. She knows I'm working. So I answered it mid-session. She's like, hospital now. Yeah. I was like, said to my client, look, done. I literally just dropped, left. And that's the first experience I'd have had of that, of thinking actually nothing else really matters, just get there.
Puts everything in perspective, doesn't it? That's it. It's hard. The critical thing, also when you said it then, mate, it was taking me back to my head. It's fucking awful. It's like, because I was the same, he came through the critical side, unit side of it. But when they put that much pressure on for you, that's what I was saying. It's like, you're in a delusion kind of headspace, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you question everything. Like, I'm thinking, fuck, if he's to go, or this and this and this, that and the other, and I can't. Like I said, mate, I know we're going to get into it of what you've achieved so far, but even just what you said, I can't applaud you so far of what you've done, mate. To even sit here now, contemplate, tell us a story like that, to fucking, do you know what I mean, build your character who you are. So tell me about that moment from that place of then and Dan. Because do you have any brothers and sisters, by the way, as well?
Yeah, sorry, so I have two brothers. Obviously, I lost
younger or
John,
older than yourself?
Both older. So I have my brother Sam, and then my brother John, who passed away when he was 30 at the time. So and I were early 20s. So
during that time, then were you living at home still with your parents, were your mum as well?
Yeah.
Were your other brother living with you at the time as well?
No, so they had both brothers had their own houses at that point.
So what happened? What happened in that chapter thereafter then, and what happened in that phase in between? Like, were you still playing football? Were you working? And you know, where were you at mentally in between that period of time?
After my brother, because my dad was still there. Like, I know it'll kind of all piece together, I hope, but I leaned on my dad. Do you know what I mean? After my brother died, and you've always got that alpha figure in your life up to losing my dad. That's like where I do think there was a big shift in my life when I lost my dad. Of you're on your own now, kid. Do you know, like there's no one to turn to. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean that in like we've got the best family, but then you kind of come the man of the family overnight. It's a or a parent. Do you know what I mean? Even my mum, like I was looking after my mum and.
Did your mum turn to you?
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, me and my mum are as close as anything. Like my mum's done absolutely everything for me. Was beyond close, do you know what I mean? But the dynamic shifted a little bit from.
It's a different type of relationship, isn't it?
It's completely, and like even the fact, like even now, all the family come to me, and just the whole thing changed. Whereas I always went to my dad, you know, everything, or like football, ring me dad, such body's watching today, or it's just not there anymore, and like. The shift in your life where, like I just say, like you're on your own, like no one's coming. You know, I know it's like cliche things to say, and it just from that point on, it was like it wasn't immediate. Don't get me wrong, and it kind of amplified thoughts I'd had before it. Do you know what I mean? So as much as I wish my dad was still here, I do think it's made me who I am a lot in a lot of ways. Do you know what I mean? It's we're not here forever. Do you know? And it was really humbling because like. I know from my physical point of view, like my dad were always this, not massive, but biggish blow alpha figure and because of the cancer, he like lost weight, and at the end I like had to pick him up out of bed, you know, do certain things that you shouldn't really have to do with your dad, and it was just an eye-opening experience to be like, wow, like.
When you say that, the alpha figure, I always saw that in my dad. I think as a dad, you want to be that alpha figure, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you say you want to. I think you strive to be better than your dad.
Yeah.
Like my dad's had a heart attack. It was major one. He's overcome it and things like that.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell anyone that he'd had a heart attack.
Yeah.
For about 20 hours.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want anybody to know there was anything wrong with him.
Yeah. And so but like where my dad, when my brother passed away, my dad was there, so he actually saw my dad have. My dad saw my brother have a cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
Tried to revive him, and he just wouldn't. He tried just dealing with it on his own, and I think maybe it contributed to him getting cancer. I know that might be just absolute pie in the sky stuff. But
did you ever have those moments of those moments that are just passing though, and trying to bridge the gap here, going into what you're doing now? Because you're being the alpha male, if you like, and being there for your mum, etc. What's gone in your head? Do you have moments of time where you could also fall back on others, or we just get yourself in a mental state of being mentally strong to keep reminding yourself of your reason?
Yeah, and I think I've only realised like the last year or two the effect it did have on me. I just went into autopilot, I think, and I looked after everyone else, and I didn't really have to, even as he was passing, I knew what was going on. But going back to when he had a cardiac arrest, like I couldn't really deal with going into ICU and all the monitors going off, whereas my mum could.
Okay.
Whereas then, as it progressed, and basically we got told it was terminal with my dad. But to finish the story, he had the cardiac arrest for 4 weeks in ICU, come round from that, and then basically we thought, like, bloody hell, he's road to recovery now. He's recovered from the original surgery, he's recovered from the cardiac arrest, it's now just, he's on the mend, he's had the surgery to cure the cancer. This was like October 2017, he came home, and then by, I think it was literally New Year's Eve 2017, he was like on the settee, he just, not lifeless, but you could just tell he was really ill. So we took him to hospital New Year's Eve. He was like in Blackburn Hospital for 10 days, and they just didn't really know what were going on. And then I spoke to the doctor, and he mentioned that my dad had had a scan, and I don't think he should have shown me, to be honest, but at the bottom it said like enlarged abdominal wall or something. I remember it, and it said suggesting progressive disease. So I said, that means cancer, doesn't it? And he said, you need to speak to, because he was registered with Preston, like where his main care was. So I rung Preston, he was like, yeah, it's like basically there's 1 in 2 that it's either cancer or it's infection. And like nothing had been mentioned about this. It was like we thought he was just recovering. So to fast forward through it a little bit, we took him to Preston, had tests within 2 days, they'd basically said it had come back and that it was terminal sort of thing. He had 2 years to live. I think that was like mid-Jan in 2018, and then he died on 8th of Feb. He died literally 3 weeks later, so never came out of hospital from that point.
No. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, it was just, but just like, the reason I talk about it is because the experience of it, I know you both had, but seeing your dad, it was literally like a fire ripping through him. Do you know what I mean? It was a really mad experience, but I was in autopilot, and my mum couldn't cope whatsoever. So I was like looking after my mum, looking after them grandparents, and everyone wanted to come and see me dad because everyone knew what was going on. And I was just like organising everyone really, and looking at, because I was the only one that could really calm him down. Cause, again, mentally, I don't really know how I always think about that now. Like if it was
where a lot of drive comes from, where you're at now, then.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so yeah,
there's no such thing as stopping, is there? You can't just take a break from that.
No. And it is something I like, because I know it's like everyone goes on about balance, don't they? And I don't really believe in it. But then on that side of me, that life's too short, you've got to enjoy it. And
I think
I'm always at war.
I'm with you on that. I said that to you, and I've said this to everyone else. I feel like when you challenge yourself against trying to find a balance between work and life, it don't work.
No.
I think it's just a life balance.
Yeah.
Work's part of my life.
Yeah.
If I can find the balance in myself of my character, who I am and what I do and how I action things, whether it be work related, personal related, that's my balance.
Yeah.
And it's just finding out, if I'm passionate about work and I do stupid hours in work, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second. But the reason, and I don't want to keep going back over it, because obviously I don't want you to continue talking too much about that period in the moment, because obviously it's very raw. But this is why asking that question there, from when your dad passed away and that gap in between, I everything you said there, that's why I kept really quiet. Is like it takes me back, and even just sitting here now, I'm like, whoa, it's taking me back to mentally in that moments when my dad was in hospital for 6 months when he had pus in the brain basically, and we thought it was touch and go. And again, it was a lot of different things. I washing him, cleaning, like you said, and he couldn't lift his arms and all these things. And to imagine him being gone now, like you mentioned, the alpha figure, that's what my dad was. And I always want to be that. I want to kind of say to him now, which I feel like I've done now, is like, step away, I've got this. Yeah. But I went into a state of, and this is why I feel like you're so mentally strong that you probably didn't even realise unless you do today. Then when I was there, and I feel like I'm mentally strong, but I was in that position when my dad was there, I was mentally strong for others, but like I said, behind closed doors, even though we're in autopilot, I'd have moments to myself to think about it, and it just made me fucking crumble, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then it took someone to tell me, i.e. my missus, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been in that position. I'd have probably gone down that wrong route. So I
think because at the time I was wrapped up in trying to sort it, and then like literally the day before he died, like the realisation that I didn't want it for him anymore. Do you know what I mean? And then the aftermath, like you focus on the funeral, and then it's after that you have like the 2 weeks after they pass, you're organising funeral, everybody's round. Then once after that, it's like everyone goes back to their own lives, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but then that's when the reality of it, and like, because a couple of my mates have lost their parents, and then they've always like, and I've said just like, not to preach it more, because I don't know, but like just be ready for that point after, because that's when it hit me. Do you know what I mean? Of like, well, like life just goes on now. Do you know, what do I do?
And I feel like people who probably listen to this might be going through this process, or they might have just gone through it. So I think it's really interesting to talk about that, because, and like I'm going to say to you then, the most respectful way, I've come to a realisation now that when the time does come, and obviously I don't know when that time is, of someone else passing, like let's say it was my father, and those grieving periods go by, it is getting back up in it and saying, look, life still goes on. It is still the game we're still playing. We've got to carry on to ensure that when we first intended playing the game, we want to win. So we've got to just move on. That's a period that happened in that chapter, but now we move forward now in progressing. Yeah, right?
Sorry to answer like your original question. It was then like after that, it was like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't immediate. Like I would going to the gym at midnight every night and
take your mind off
sleep to tire myself out, and like I was quite angry for like 6 months of why, you know, because I'd gone down the rabbit hole of like cancer treatment, and Tim, you know, like that's another whole conversation of like,
could it have been different?
Yeah, and the way the health industry is and pharmaceutical companies and all that. So I know that's a whole different conversation, but there were like frustration towards that, because there were like alternative therapies, and why is there only this treatment here and that, and so that were a period where I was like working through that is the reason that I'm going on about it. And like the reason I've spoke about my dad quite a bit is because I do think it's like a huge part of my life.
It definitely is, could tell.
And then from then on, it was like, right, I don't know the exact time frame of it, but after that, it was like, we need to make the most of life. Like, and I've mentioned it at times now, like, I don't know I'm going to be here next year or next week. And like, yeah, come on, you're only 30. It's like, but that is genuinely how I live my life now. It's because I know I've seen it, do you know what I mean? And nobody knows what's around the corner. I know hopefully I live till I'm 60, 70, 80 or whatever, but I'm not going to wait till I'm 60, 70 to find out or go and live my life. Do you know what I mean? And that was like with my dad, it was get a good job, work your 9 to 5, have a stable life, get your pension, then enjoy yourself. Whereas I never really, even before my dad passed, I knew I didn't see life that way, but then it was always like, don't want to not upset my dad, but you're obviously working through that as you grow up, aren't you? You're all coming to your own ideas, and and then after it was like, right, literally, what's the worst that can happen now? Do you know, start getting after stuff, and I've always been into like personal development a little bit and motivational stuff, and it just amplified everything really, and it kind of just like clicked with me that you've got to get moving, you know.
So what were the trigger then from that point to keep you moving? So were you working a job at that time as well?
So even up to like just over 15 months ago, I was still working full time, which is pretty nuts really, because the company were doing okay at that point, but it was just how we did it, you know. It worked with Adam, but yeah, we were working full time. Started Kappo in 2017 officially, which was just before my dad died. So
what gave you the inspiration behind Kappo?
To be honest, that is where Adam comes in. So obviously I met Adam through playing semi-professional football, and I used to travel in with him, and I'd always had the idea about it was specifically Kappo and clothing and stuff, but it was just like batting around in my head.
Kappo meaning you were saying Latin for...
It's not like, is it Italian for boss?
Italian. It's like a mafia phrase for like boss of all bosses or head boss. And
nice.
So yeah, it was just an idea I'd always had, and then we're travelling and we just spoke about it one day on way to footy, and he was like, well, why are you not doing it? And I just couldn't really answer him, to be honest. So
you had no fashion background, no business background? No,
so I know we'll probably come on to that, but like even now I know we've just literally employed what you would call proper people, you know, and but up to this point people will come and be like, where's your marketing team, where's your design team, like where's your, not boardroom as such, but like your management team.
Where's all your operationals?
Like, it's just me and Adam, like there's literally no one else. But
relentless energy.
Yeah, but I love that, do you know what I mean? It's, you just figure that is when you say what
the best part, the grind's the best part. Do you not
people
think?
Just figure it out, don't they? Nobody's got it figured out, even
as you're growing in scale, you still haven't got it figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
And still in that position. So when you thought the idea from Kappo, it's always, everyone has so many ideas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy having an idea. It's taking it to become something. So take us right to the very root of yourself and Adam having those discussions. So what were the plan? What were the idea? Like, obviously, it's probably just been, let's just do this for fun, right?
Yeah.
What were the, how did it start?
So probably like most of there was a lot around that time, and all there is now, like clothing and T-shirt brands where you just stick a logo on.
Exactly. So how do you stand out from that crowd?
Yeah, so we started literally with hats. So we just literally drew the logo, got blank hats, went to a local like embroidery company, had the hats done. We thought that were, and looking back, then we gradually progressed into clothing, and I look back now and some of the stuff we did was like awful, to be honest with you, like, but that was all part of learning. And like, when literally going back to the start of it, my dad gave me 250 quid to buy the first batch of hats, and Adam put 250 quid in as well. So that's literally where it started from.
Who do you think who am I going to sell these to?
Have
you not had that thought process yet? You just thought we'll just make it, and then
we'll create an Instagram and it'll just sell. It was the naivety of it back then. And then it was like the influencer route back then. We thought, we'll give it to a couple of influencers and it'll just start selling thousands. And it just wasn't that way. Like, it took us a good few years to get going. Even up to probably 2.5, 3 years ago, it was like, what are we doing?
So the early years were just caps, were they?
Yeah, so caps, then like tracksuits, T-shirts, just like basic clothing really. But the big, like China, for example, the factories wouldn't touch us, so we had to have clothing made in like Pakistan and Sialkot, where the quality's not quite there, but they'll cater for your minimum like 50 pieces. Do you know what I mean? But even when you start in 50 pieces, is a lot of stuff.
A lot,
Do you know, like you're saying,
if you're not selling them, you've got a lot of stock. Yeah.
Have you got the money to advertise it? And me and Adam didn't, and we've never had nobody's ever helped us, nobody's ever given us any money. Do you know what I mean? We've literally snowballed it from 250 quid, and he's put a bit of money in at times, and vice versa, and things like that. And then as we've grown, we've got a bit more like capital facilities now and things like that. But literally, there's no one gone here. And I love that because we've had to just figure it out. We've learned, we've made loads of mistakes. But I think if you start with money, you can waste it, can't you? Like, even at points looking back, we like compare to brands doing like loads of influencers would be posting. You think, bloody hell, they must be doing it. And then they don't exist now. Yeah. It's like us just being slow and steady, chipping away. Like Atomic Habits, I know. It's another bit of a cliche, like the 1% stuff of just sticking with it day in, day out. And
from your first couple of years, you were saying there that it probably wasn't going as well as you thought it would. Yeah. Most people would have just, no pun intended.
And I genuinely don't know why we didn't. Like, I do look back so many times. And like I say, even technically, it's probably 7 years old. Well, 6 probably officially, because it was like early 2018 we started. But yeah, like the first 3 years, it made no sense to carry on. Like me and Adam didn't take any money out of Kappo for 5 years.
You're still working your other job as well on the side,
Yeah, so this was from when I left, from 20 to being 29 I were when I left the council. So like 9 years. But obviously Kappo was like 5 years alongside that. But yeah, that's where when you talk about it now, like people go, "Oh, Kappo smashing it, this, that."
They don't see the
behind the scenes. I've been away a couple of times recently, and they're like, "Oh, it's all right for you," and it's like, yeah, but I didn't. For 5 years I worked full time. I had my little boy. I didn't have a life for 5 years. You were out on this every weekend. Do you know what I mean? But I know you learn.
Talk about that sacrifice then, because that's important. And me being a business mentor, and I teach that, is that people want things to happen now, quick, fast, easy. If they could see, like we spoke off camera earlier, if they could see the roadmap of actually what it takes to be an entrepreneur, it's fucking this all the time, playing with this, all these other things don't come off of what we expected might have happened, and then something happens that we didn't expect to happen, and it's fighting against you and yourself and all these other things. And I always say to everyone, it's not the lifestyle that you're fucking seeing that you think is great. Yeah. It's all right having those good months and those good years. It's how you maintain it. And they don't see the work and the actions behind the scenes to maintain that business, to carry on growing that business. So what would you say to someone who are thinking about even starting a clothing brand? What could they expect from the early stages, would you say, before they even get to a point of where you're at?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I'll be honest, it's like I would encourage you, because there was people like, oh, your competitors and stuff like that. Like, I just don't have that mindset. I just think there's enough room for everyone to eat, sort of thing. Focus on yourself, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like just do it. You know, even not just specifically clothing. Like, I know it's, but just if you got a business idea, do it. Like, why not? Just that is literally the thing. Like, if you're waiting for your ducks to be in a line and or a certain day, I'll do it next week. It's like I was guilty of that before my dad. Touching back on my dad, it was like I was a bit like, yeah, I'll do it, but whereas now it's like, yeah, do it now. Like, there's no time to waste. You know, like, what are you waiting for, sort of thing. You're never gonna have it all. Everything's gonna be perfect. And that's probably what we've done pretty well. Like, we just do stuff. Like, we don't wait for it to be perfect, or we just run with stuff.
Did you never hit the fuck it button then? As in, like, like fuck this. Obviously, you'll have had the thought process. Like, I had the thought process when I started mine.
Yeah.
But again, mindset-wise, does that come from your dad, your brother?
Yeah, I do think now, like, for me, it's like, unless someone, I know it's going back, but unless someone's dying, like, what's it matter? Do you know, like, if it all went wrong tomorrow, do you know, it's, and that perspective on stuff now, like, you're signing leases for stuff or whatever, it's like.
I think football probably just come into it, doesn't it, with a competitive streak and always wanting to win.
And touching back to, like, I do think, because I was in, like, an elite professional environment, and, like, I was at not the pinnacle, but you know what I mean? I was in and around, like, the best training grounds, the best coaches, you're playing against the best kids. And then to go from that to, like, going to college, do you know, it was like playing on Sunday, not that as if, do you know what I mean? It was a shift of, like, then I want to get back to that elite environment, and unfortunately I couldn't do it in football, so it was like, right, well,
do it somewhere.
Business, you know, it's need to get the most out of life. But sorry, going back to your original question of, like, the challenges, it's just start. Like, there's never been a better time to start a business, has there? Do you know, like. Go to Google. You don't, like, I know university and school, and, like, I have no background in fashion, business, no qualifications really that I should have to do what we do. Neither does Adam, neither does most of our staff until the recent ones. Do you know, like, we've got to where we are with zero blueprint, you know, just winged it basically. Now, I'm not saying that's the best way to do things.
It has to be part of it though.
But yeah,
but I think I think you winging it is perfect, mate.
Yeah. Because
the reality is that it's building your character as well as building the business. So you're much more level-headed and much more open, and you haven't got no smoke screen in front of you if anyone wants to come in and really kind of take the piss a little bit, because you know that you've built something from a seed and you've watered it for so long and shown it light that it's now sprouted, when now you're just letting others continue to pour that water for you while you can step out, but you can see it from the outside perspective of seeing it's still growing, but you know where you first planted that seed. Yeah. So I feel like the journey that you've gone on there, and not having that background and stuff that we could get to shortly, is probably why the business was such a success, because your winning mentality, it sounds like, from football, it comes from that, where you don't want to lose. And then everything you went through with your father and your brother and stuff as the business continued to grow, and you probably thought, you know, can't let them down, and maybe that would have subconsciously back here that you never even thought about. But I think the grind is what creates a serious entrepreneur. And I think people should not be scared of just asking the question of help, because I feel people like, for example, me being a business mentor, people can look at me and think he's going to charge me a bomb to ask for help. No, I'm fucking not. Like, if you ask the right people, and you know my background, it's me, 3 GCSEs, coming from fuck all and making it to where I am based on what, like you said, just grind, get out there, give it a go. But it's now when people look at you and me and you and other people who might be successful with a car, the house, whatever, they've got it easy. They don't see the grind behind. But the only reason why I got to my point, and this is what the question I'm going to ask you, is that it is important to go out there, try it, and sacrifice your fucking time away from your friends, going out and piss. Like I did that at early stage, like yourself, sacrificed it, got in front of the computer. Now is the best time. It's all there in front of you to learn it, and just have patience with what it is you're doing, and it will start to fall into place. But just ask the fucking question.
There's Google, YouTube.
Yeah, there's a hand there. Take the hand or take the advice.
You know what I mean? I've probably built Kappo from a phone. Do you know what I mean? Or both of us a laptop. Do you know, like, years ago you couldn't have done it. Like marketing now. Do you know? I know you need to. You know, but just start, like, and figure it out. Like, there is no, for us, that is like literally everything. Problems now come up every day. You'll be the same. Oh, you don't know how to sort it out.
The problems are higher now than what they were easy at the beginning. Probably it might be the same for you. Looking back when you weren't doing as well as you are now, it was probably easier. There's more complicated problems. There's more. Business is just a puzzle. Yeah, it's just one big puzzle that you're constantly trying to solve.
And I think the biggest puzzle, and this is what I'm going to ask you now, is that when you do, like you said earlier, when you feel like you want to climb the mountain, you get to the top of the peak, you go, what now? You sometimes can have those moments where you think, shit, I'm going to fall back down that mountain and try and have to climb again.
Like complete, I really like struggle.
Do you ever get like imposter syndrome sometimes?
Yeah, massively, yeah. Especially at the minute because we're bringing people in and it's like...
Trust.
We are employing people now on like more than I was earning just over 18 months ago. Yeah. Do you know, like I've gone from being an employee, not at the bottom of the chain, but then like me and Adam now run the company and we bring, you know, it's like, it's a shift mentally, but I've always thought that way anyway. You know, even now it's like, what is the limit to stuff and where I want to take it, we might never get there, but it is a bit of a shift. And like, I know you mentioned imposter syndrome, even now, like, it's like, but nobody's got it figured out, have they? You know, I come back to that all the time. Even now I'm like, you can always do more, or we could be doing this better, and like, you just never switch off. And it is like you say, imposter syndrome but not everybody goes through it, don't they? Nobody's figured it out, they just winged it along the way. But then going back to your what you say about like, as you do achieve things, I think like now I vividly recognise that it is like now I go into work every day, all my family's there, like it's meant, you know what I mean, like it's not the money, not that we're not got anywhere near where I think we can get yet, but it is like the just pursuit of progress. Like I know it's on my Instagram, but like for me it is like I've realised that it's not like when I thought we hit our first million in revenue, I thought I'd like big brass band come out, and do you know what I mean? It's like I just sat there and I was like, is that it? But yeah, I'd worked years for that since I was like mid-teens. I thought, get there and I'll be happy. And it was like, no.
It's crazy, isn't it? I'm glad you said that. I spoke to her about the missus last night. Yeah. And it's why I fucking love this episode, mate. Like, because everything you're saying, I'm smiling like, this is fucking exactly what I'm thinking. Like, in my head. Like, I said to her last night when we were in bed. Like, we're fortunate to go away to New York in a few weeks for a week. And then going away for Turkey for a week, but the holidays that we never imagined, and then going to centre parts end of the year, then going to Greece. But you look at us for like, I had £10 in my fucking pocket, and I hadn't done anything. When I had £10 in my pocket, and I slept under fucking Clapham Tunnel, I'd have begged to be in this position and go, life's sorted now. I'm having all days this year and that. Mate, if anything, I'm in this position where I'm fucking shit nervous that it's all going to end tomorrow still. I know. And I'm still trying to fucking better and go. And then you look at the bank balance, and I'm not meaning this, and anyone watching, I'm not trying to say this in a way to big-headed. It's not that what I'm saying. It's like what you're saying there is you look at the money you didn't have in the business or in your life, and you go, hey, but I know I can make more than that. Is that all that is?
And I think that's, to be honest, going off topic again, is like, like me and Adam didn't take money when we could have. We've reinvested.
I'm just going to say that
because we wanted to like at the point we have like taken even a basic wage. It was where it could be done and not affect growth. Do you know what I mean? It's like.
And I'm just going to say how important do you think? How important do you think that is to do that?
I suppose it depends. What like even now for me, it's we could probably plateau now. Do you know and maintain it, but for me it's like I want to go here, I want to go there, you know, and then when I get
like, Nick modelling, mate, you'll be flying.
I think, you know, it's I suppose it's what you personally, your own goals are. You know, I never thought we'd get to where we are, but then I'm here and it's like we've not even got started yet. It's like the world's your oyster, you know, it's nuts really.
How do you stay excited about it then? Was that we're not even got somebody actually said that to you? You haven't got started yet, mate.
Yeah. Like obviously, you have conversations with different people now and then. It's just to be like, even worldwide, like we've not even got going. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're just starting to sell in America, Europe's like, but then just purely off the size of it, then we're starting footwear, new markets, new products. We're bringing staff in that are going to be making new products constantly, and then you look at other people. Like I know, like I'm pretty bad for it really, because. Like when I look to where we started to now, I never thought we'd get here, and then now it's like we're here, and I'm looking way down the line again. But that is what I realise now. It is that like problems every day. We're going on about it, and even though I mourn about it, like this is everything I ever wanted. Do you know what I mean? Like where someone's coming and this has gone wrong, that's gone wrong, and it's like you have to pull yourself back sometimes, don't you, to think. Literally, this is it. This is everything that you want is unfolding. Do you know what I mean? But then
good days, bad days.
Yeah, the complacency thing is, I'm always like vivid. I know maybe because me and Adam on it. It's like if it does go wrong, it's on our head. But
yeah.
For me, it's not like how can I explain it? I am vividly aware every day that it could all come. Plus, what we're doing today it won't come crashing down now. It'll be in a few months' time. Do you know,
that's
like
what
the compound effect can go both ways. Do you know, it's good and bad. It's
keeps you humble as well, doesn't it? When you think that way. I think, like you said, you're absolutely right. I've said it to you and many people, is that people want things quick, easy, fast. It's hard when you're coaching clients who want to grow a business, because you've seen it, because you've been with me the longest. Clients come and clients go. He's been with me, my longest serving client has been his mentor.
Still paying now, by the way. Yeah, figure that one out.
So you fucking should. I might up it. But no, in all seriousness, like, the reality is, and you've seen it first and foremost, is that there's so many business owners who have helped to grow, and you're right. I just see two differences in businesses of how you grow and scale. Is that people make their money and they think they've nailed it now, so they go off and they spend it in their lifestyle, and they think that's just going to keep coming back. Like I said, to get to where demand the market is and to where I've got in my life is I've reinvested it back, and I still paid myself the salary that I run at my previous job. The money that I just manage my money much better in that I reinvest it in the business, put some in a pot and look at it, and that's our bonus money for holidays and anything we want to go with the kids. So the importance, and this is why I want to keep going back to this, because I think people are watching this, they need to fucking really understand it. Is that the money that you make, put it back into your fucking business, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, operations, a team. Because if you're really looking to grow and get to that pinnacle of maintaining the business and the brand that you're trying to aim for, you have to understand that there's other things that need to have your attention, and money needs to be injected in those different avenues to allow that level of growth to happen.
Plus, it's time and money investment in it. You know, it's like, I'm probably extreme with it, but I do think, like, there's always just outwork people. Like, you don't have to be the brightest kid in the room. You know, like, there's people with fashion degrees, whatever, this, that, and the other, but
nothing.
They're not doing anything with it. You know, and that's so for me. It was always like, and I'll go back to Ronaldo, like McGregor. It's like the mindset of them. Like, I'm like, with my podcasts and stuff, I'm obsessed with like the mindset of the elite people. You know, but yet, like you say, what is the common trend of them all? They're just relentless.
And
like,
the vision.
There's no like, they just don't get me wrong. There's a bit of natural ability. There's like, I know, is it the Michael Jordan thing of with Tony Robbins, but they're just relentless. That's like, they just day in, day out, like, first sign of success. Like when I spoke at the Liverpool thing, and like, this kid's there at 19, they might be the best in their age group now. And I think, again, going back to my football background in like, I was probably the best kid at 14, but then 16, I didn't even get a scholarship. So it's like, how you're vividly aware of how things can change, and you've got to stay on it day in, day out.
Embrace the brutal world that it is.
You've got to bite on the fucking gum shield, mate. That's the thing, is like, people don't like the fact that the thought of biting on the gum shield and fucking getting hit and bruises and fucking don't get me started, 'cause I'll fucking go off when you're like it is though. It's like, you've got to understand, you've got to fucking get up, fucking do it, and do the basics really fucking well. Like, I bet if I ask this question now, tell me if I'm right or wrong. If you think about, and we'll get to your success in the moment and the brand itself and where it's going, but if you think now, Dan, to when you fucking first started Kappo, to where it is today, have the basics changed in regards to what you do daily, weekly, monthly, really, in regards to business, how you've grown it?
No, not really, no. And going back to it, like, I like that about it. It's so lean, you know what I mean? I know it's like, it's very heavily weighted on me and Adam. Like, there's been a lot of stress, and like, the roles we're now employing for should have probably been done a bit sooner, but we are lean, do you know what I mean? We haven't got massive overheads of, you know, like what you're supposed to do things. It's like, we've just found our own way of doing things, and that every business will be the same, won't it? It's like, when people are coming in saying you should have had probably 8 members of staff at this point, it's like, yeah, but we don't have 8.
Who's coming in and saying that though?
So like, agents or like
that haven't done what you've done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and they don't know.
There's always people telling you what you should be doing, and yet they've never done anything themselves.
Got to listen to yourself and your own journey and fucking implement that.
Yeah,
and
I think you do learn to trust that a bit more, don't you? Like, when you're a bit starry-eyed when you're younger, it's now you trust your judgment a little bit more. When like, it's our company. You know, if we make a wrong decision, you know, like, we've had to make.
It's on you.
Yeah, it's nobody else's.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you are right. And I know you said, 'cause it's probably your first proper business with growing it and get it to where it is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, mate, you're right. Every business I've worked with, all different in different industries, it's just the fucking basics. If you do your basics really well, it's the boring work people don't like, I find. Because getting up every day, every week, every month, is they're always looking for that shiny fucking unicorn, fucking sprinkle of glitter that's new.
I don't think you need to reinvent the wheel. Like, I know I've been guilty of it. Probably like our early stuff, it was always like a mad colour or mad design, and it's like, I know it's like a Rolls Royce saying, is it Henry Royce? Just take what's done and do it better, sort of thing. Do you know, and that is, you can apply that to anything in business. So it's not clothing, you know, whatever you have an interest in, just like even artists, designers, you know, everyone takes inspo from somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's like reinvented everything from scratch. No. It's just start piecing things together. Like I'll do it with designs. I like that colour, I like that fabric with that fitting, and pull it together. Do you know what I mean? And it's, everyone does it. You know, nobody's completely invented a new item of clothing. Do you know what I mean?
Let's talk about the brand then, and we'll talk about your pieces that you've got at the moment and who came up with those kind of designs in a second. But the brand itself then, tell everyone, what does Kappo represent? Who's your market? Like, what's the vision for it currently and where you're heading?
Yeah, so I know the Kappo is like the boss of all bosses, that's the branding element of it. But for us, it's to have an offering for every occasion. Do you know what I mean? But it's affordable. So what we want is like, you get a delivery and you're like, yeah, that were good. We could put the price up, is my point, but I like the fact it arrives and it's value. We price fairly from day one. Like, we're not one of these companies that'll run sales every month. Like, we literally run one sale a year, to be honest, max 2, and it's literally 4 days and it's no more than 20% off. Because I know when I was a consumer, and I still am now, you know, the fact that every payday you get an email or a code or they're going to run a sale, people just wait for it, you know. And for me, it's like, well, why not just like, if someone's selling something for 200 quid and then it's 80 quid in sale, it's like, it's just something I've always noticed. So for us, it's been like a principle that, and it's been hard at times, like when everyone's running sales and you're like, our sales aren't great, you're like, oh, you know, but I think, again, holding to your principles in business, again, it's like, it's a bit of a USP for us, I think. But yeah, to answer your question, it's whatever occasion you've got, the long-term vision is we'll have an offering for
your
it.
target audience being men as well,
yeah,
right?
Predominantly
You're
men.
doing young kids out as well?
Yeah, we just started kids, obviously footwear, even international now we're branching into, and then activewear eventually, and potentially women's down the line. But yeah, like I know I like Zara and things like Nike, and like I look at the revenue, I know, going back to the business side of things, like I look at the revenue them companies are doing, and probably seems pie in the sky stuff like to us right now, but like, why can't we get there eventually, or even near
it? They do the same, yeah.
Or I might get so far along I think it's not for me anymore, but there's companies doing 50, 100, 200, like Gymshark did $500 million last year, and they started from where we did. Do you know what I mean? It's
everything's achievable.
I might be a bit deluded, but do you know what I mean? I think that the aim is to have a go at I'll see how far we can get there. Do you know what I mean? And again, it's not revenue. It's like, going back to what you said earlier, it's like, me and Adam love what we do now. It's not work to us.
I was going to say that to you.
And like, what I think we're building isn't a business. Like, it is a brand, and I think we're trying to tap into it a bit more. And now is like part of why I'm doing this. You know, it's the story behind it, and like my grandma and granddad work there. My aunties, it's all family. Do you know what I mean? It's
do any family still work in the business?
Yeah. So my mum, my mum, Adam's mum, his wife, aunties, uncles. Yeah, it's like predominantly family. So there's like 20 staff. And I
was gonna say, I'll ask this question later, but is that because of trust, or do you just want to? Is it trust, or you want to bring them with you as well?
Yeah, a bit of both really. Like partly why I wanted to start a business initially was like when my mum retired and then my dad passed away. My mum she didn't need to have a job, but she needed something to focus on. Not focus on, but she wanted a job, and I was like, you don't want to be. She was mentioning working at the co-op or something like that, and I was like, Mum, come on, you don't want to be going working for someone else at your stage of life. So anyway, that's going back to it. I had like an eBay business at the time, and she run that for me basically, and then obviously as Kappo grew, we shut that down, but then I had a lot of learnings through that. Do you know what I mean? That opened my eyes to, like, we were doing 50 grand a month on eBay, which at that point to me was like, oh my God, you know. Then we sidetracked into PPE during COVID, so I know I'm again jumping around a bit. So we ended up doing PPE during COVID because we had contacts in China, and like nursing homes were contacting us, and like, can we have 200,000 masks a week? And like, it was a mad time, and we're getting like gloves delivered to my house and masks, and it was like, shit, where did they go? Do you know what I mean? And
I'm just thinking, where do you put 200,000 blooming masks?
No, we didn't get that many, but like, if we'd have had the finances to like buy the stuff then, it was nuts.
How did you survive COVID then? Because obviously you started in 2017, brand were building up. You went through that tough time with your dad just passing as well as it gets to COVID 2019, 2020. Like, what the fuck are you thinking like at that time? Like, Jesus. Cause
so it's because there were more, probably at that point, there were more revenue going through the eBay. So like, obviously that had a little bit more of my focus at that time, to be honest. Plus of COVID, me and Adam kind of thought, which was the opposite, that, everything's going to go quiet. So we kind of pulled back on Kappo initially when obviously e-commerce went boom, which was probably the wrong thing to do. But again, with the eBay stuff, just to touch on it, it like opened my eyes to like what's possible, then the PPE, and it was like, right, how do we scale this? But you couldn't really scale it on eBay, and then so it was like, right, that's where I kind of realised that building your own, like, you don't answer to someone when you're on your own brand. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not reliant on eBay's selling rules or whatever it is. It was, right, we need to build like our own brand now. And then obviously we started to touch on it like in revenue numbers like 2020 we were doing like 50 grand a year with Kappo, so when you're going back to like questioning what the fuck are you doing, do you know what I mean? It was very much like we were losing money, we were buying stock, sat with stock we couldn't sell, and then obviously as it progresses,
loans or nothing at this point, just all your own money.
Just all our own money, and then obviously whatever we sell we put back in, and then like obviously we did like have an Amex at one point, and we were trying to use that to buy stuff and just hustled it. Honestly, like the whole thing's just been a complete hustle, and which again I love. It's not been started with whatever, and I know most people start that way, but
it's an authentic brand, innit? I mean, you've just brought some pieces now. Like I said, the reason why I got you on that is see you fucking everywhere. So for at least the past probably year or so maybe, and said to our lass, I said I need to stop seeing this brand because the clothing you do, I said I'm going to spend a fortune here. I said before I actually buy anything from them, let me get the individual behind it and have ideas, because your style's what my style would be. I'm trying to make myself sound fashionable now, like fucking overshirts, jackets. But the pieces you do are very minimal, which I like, and it's your brand seems very premium, away from your typical. Like you said, there's a lot of competition out there, but I think what stands you out, bringing you up here. But what I'm really impressed with is that to say you had no fashion background, and to say business background, yes, but fashion background, how you've just been able to piece, and is it because of what you've seen, what lads are wearing, or what you like wearing?
I think it's kind of like what made what I wanted to buy at times. Do you know what I mean? And I couldn't find it, or I've been like, that'd be cool in this, and it's just like the mindset I've always had, and like the vision of certain things. Plus I've always been interested in business, and then it's kind of just pieced together and snowballed from there. But
talk us through the process then, Dan. So let's say you're interested in a new piece, jacket. Yeah. Who does the drawing up? Do you sit down with someone, visualise they draw up and stuff?
So literally up to this point, it's literally been me and Adam. So again, as we've grown, we now have factory in China. Like we've got our own unit with like 50, 60 staff basically that predominantly work on Kappo. So just through like WhatsApp, things like that. Again, for people starting out, like the way we've done it is so unconventional. Like up to recently we didn't have Adobe Illustrator, which to like people in the clothing game will be like, what? Like we didn't have a designer, we didn't have a merchandiser, garment tech, all your typical roles and like ways of working, like tech packs. We didn't do tech packs, which for people like to do the numbers we're doing without and have a range of clothing like we have, like how we're doing it on Word. And again, it's probably not the most efficient way of doing it, but it's got us to where we are without huge resources. Do you know what I mean? We just found a way to do it. Like I'd mood board stuff and template things, or we'd buy certain samples and like I like that fit a t-shirt, but then like I know I mentioned before, and pull it all together, and then through dialogue with a factory, sampling, etc., and trial and error, you get to what you want. But again, I think with us it's like, especially now, we'll try things more, whereas like it doesn't have to be perfect. Do you know what I mean? Again, going back to where you think you've got to have the perfect business idea or perfect product. Don't get me wrong, like in business, like it's product in it, your price point, marketing, etc., like your key things, but things don't have to be perfect. Do you know what I mean? Your product does have to be really good and has to stand out, or else why are they going to buy it from anyone else? But just do stuff, do you know what I mean? And try things. And
What's been your USP? Do you think that's got you to this point then?
Yeah, I think it's been a bit of a storm of a few things really. Like, again, the product's really good, the price point, we've got pretty good marketing, and it's just compounded. Like, we have a pretty strong return customer rate as well now. Plus, again, like, me and Adam have heavily reinvested, which has like got to the snowball effect that we're kind of seeing now. Do you know, it's like I say, going back 2-3 years, the numbers were nowhere near what they are now, and I would never have seen what were going to happen, but just that relentless persistence with it of constantly keep chipping away, reinvesting more ads. Right, good day yesterday, put more ads, you know, increase more advertising, or let's release a new product, expand the range, just keep pushing.
Was there a point in time where obviously you compounded everything? What was there an aha moment and you went, oh, we're doing something here, we're actually, we've gone from fuck all to doing all right, to doing maybe 50 grand a year. I don't know if that's profit or turnover, because that's good for some people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To going for $1 million.
Yeah.
To what point did you go, we fucking got this now?
Yeah, I think it's probably about a couple of years, 18 months, couple of years ago. Like I think we started putting things on, like things started selling out really quickly, and then we started putting stuff on pre-order. Yeah. And I used to think, like, because we weren't that well known then, I thought, who's going to order something that's going to turn up in 2-3 weeks? Like, it's not drop shipping, don't get me wrong, it was like we'd get the packing list of stuff that was arriving in 2 weeks, so we'd put it on pre-order, so like pre-sell it, if you will. And I used to think, like, who's going to, because we weren't well known, who's going to pre-order? But then we were like doing loads of pre-orders. Do you know, I was like, oh, we're onto something here. Do you know what I mean? It was like, there is a demand for us. And then it's just constantly snowballed from there, really. Like, we've just sold more and more stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, hang on.
Same
then
stuff,
I thought, right,
stuff.
I need to quit work now. Do you know that way?
What did that feel like at the time when you had to quit work?
Like, best feeling, don't get me wrong, I love working there to an extent, and like, I love the people, and that probably kept me there. But like, I know we spoke about money, but for me it's always been freedom. Like, being tied to a desk 9 till 5 just wasn't for me. Or like, I'd sit in meetings at work with like what you would call directors or whatever, lovely people, bright people, but then like,
there's no spark, there's no
was
excitement.
Like, it's going to take me 40 years to get to that level. Do you know, like dead man's shoes sort of thing?
Just to have conversations.
You'd come up with ideas, and it's like, yeah, but no, like, this is just how it is, and it's how it's always going to be. And it was just like banging your head against the brick wall, to be honest. So yeah, then, but so that my point was like the freedom element of, or like even today, do you know, like, do you want to do a podcast? Like, if you have a full-time job, can I have half a day off work? Or like doing what you want when you want. It's not the monetary. It's like your time freedom is what I always wanted. Yeah. So yeah, to be able to quit work was like that. That was a massive achievement for me to take back my own time. Do you know what I mean?
I think you mentioned earlier you've got a little boy. Did you say?
Little boy.
How old's your little boy?
He's 5 now.
5,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he's gone through probably that period of you. So were he a big driving force for you as well to grow the business?
Yeah, he is now, to be honest. And I know I've probably not touched on it because it was like 2 months after my dad passed away, I found out about
having a little one.
Yeah, so, and obviously it was a bit of a transitional, like, processing it, because I was trying to process my dad, and then it was the best thing that ever happened, to be honest. Like you say, you went down a certain path, not, do you know what I mean? You started drinking and things like that, just reined me in. You know, it focused me a little bit, and like even now he chills me out, and like you say, I want to do well for him. I want to give him a really good life. And
it's a funny one. It's just like when you have kids, you can't explain it. It's like you look at him, like I look at Brock in his eyes, little boy. I've got a little boy and a little girl. He turns 5 in October. She'll be 2 in July. And you look at him, and it's like it's weird, isn't it? It's like this raw emotion inside that fucking needs to just get out there and make happen.
Plus, like, you can act like, obviously in your business, like big stakes, and then you come home and like nothing matters.
No matters, mate. Yeah.
He runs over and he's like, you know, it's like nothing. Everything you think you're worried about just goes away, doesn't it? Because he needs your attention for 5 minutes, and it's like, it is a mint experience.
It's crazy, mate. And I think the biggest thing as well, I think the driving force is knowing for me. Would you agree? Where I can't wake up in the morning and looking at my son in the eyes in a few years' time and saying, daddy let you down. Not because I didn't have the resources and knowing what I need to do, just because I didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
That's my driving force, where I think the reason why I get promoted, the reason why people might fucking see my videos on my stories and think he's a cocky, whatever, and whatever they think, it don't get to me, because the reality is they don't see the reason behind my why of what I'm doing. So what is your why?
Yes, it's a good question, to be honest. I think for me it's, I just want to get the most out of life. Do you know, like, it is, I think for me it is, I've got to be chasing progress. And then I know we spoke about it earlier, it's the flip side of that is with my dad experiences, it's like, right, enjoy the here and now. But then for me, it's like you're at war with keep chasing, but then trying to enjoy here and now. But for me, yeah, I've always got to be chasing something, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's, you can never stand still. Like,
why is that? Why do you think you've got to continue chasing?
I don't really know.
What do you do to switch off?
So, well, obviously I've got my missus now and stuff, so that's come into my life recently, and like that's been a bit of a shift as well, you know, to try and, because I was so work, and like for me it's
to find a relationship side, especially in entrepreneurship.
But do you switch off? Julie, do you switch off?
I don't think you
this is why I'm asking a question. A question for me. I mean, I can admit, I don't. I'm always thinking. I think even just like you said, and like you were saying earlier, even on the way to the car here, I'm already thinking about, you know, not just the coach calls I've done with clients, but I'm already thinking about what we're going to implement after this podcast, with the podcast, the brand, and where it's going to go next. So
plus it's like even gym now. I enjoy gym and stuff like that, and but then I think that's good for me mentally, and a lot of people, do you know what I mean, to see like pushing yourself in the gym then can relate to your business. Do you know what I mean?
Have you just started getting into the gym recently again then?
No, I've been into it for probably, I don't know, 3 years ish, but it's a bit more like the hybrid style training that I like now. Don't get me wrong, I go to normal gym most days, and but yeah, it's more the mental side of it for me, of like pushing yourself and how far you can in gym, and then plus like you just feel good after it, don't you? First thing in the morning, like I go before work, then I go into work.
So going to your why, that resilience nature, you want more. Why though? Like, what have you ever thought or sat down? Why?
Yeah, no, people have asked me this. I think it's just like, I know another podcast mentions that you're being pushed or pulled, and I don't know the answer to it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I feel just want to get the most out of life. Do you know what I mean?
Just play the game called life.
Empty
see where
the tank sort of thing, of like when your number's up, it's you've done everything you wanted to do. Do you know? What I mean?
Probably sounds a bit random, but do you embrace a little bit of the lack of control that you have with stuff? So in business, there is an element of you can't control everything.
Yeah.
You can't control who comes through your door, who comes through this. Obviously, you've had elements. You can't control who's going to take you on at football. You couldn't control your brother. Couldn't control, obviously, dad. You couldn't control initially what's going on with Kappo. The eBay thing then, obviously. Then you couldn't control COVID. And then, obviously, now there are elements that you can control, but still, there are uncontrollables out there that, say, with my business, it might bring it come crashing down. I enjoy that part where it could be gone tomorrow, but it also could go boom tomorrow. Do you enjoy it?
I am like pretty unorganised as well, so, and in terms of like not having much control, it is like now because of the stakes for everything, it's a bit uncomfortable, you know, like, like you're bringing people in, and
it's a better word, to be fair. Uncomfortable rather than lack of control.
But like it's the realisation now of like I can't do everything. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I'm not the brightest kid by any means. Do you know what I mean? The stuff everything we've done, I've just figured out. It's not because I'm brightest kid. Do you know what I mean? It's just right. We need to do this. Figure it out. Google whatever. Somehow find a way of doing it. But now to go where I want to go, it's like just purely time. Like my time's so saturated. I can't have more ideas than I can do time wise. Do you know what I mean? And now it's like, right, pass it off to people that are better than you. Do you know? It's like.
What do you think it takes then, Dan, to be part of that 1%? So I've said this a lot. I'm very confident and comfortable in the uncomfortable situations. I didn't used to be. It's taken me a long time to get to that point. But I basically, the analogy I use is I would say to anyone, if there's a fucking flaming fires coming, instead of me stepping out and running off, I will get so comfortable where the flames get closer and I fucking feel the heat and I don't feel it no more. But it took a long time for me to get to that position. And I think that's made a big difference in why I've been successful in business and in my life, whatever success may be. Success for me is, like you said, freedom. Give me my own freedom to look after my own life and do the things I want to do. So what would you like, what would you say, being uncomfortable with those situations, like what what is that for you? Like, you know,
I think that is pretty much like probably what I am good at. Do you know what I mean? If anything, is I am like nothing really phases me. Do you know what I mean? Whatever, like going back to it, unless someone's dying, like what does anything matter? Just figure it out. Do you know what I mean? It's
easy saying that because I agree what you say, but with people watching this, how do you get to that point? Generally, I could be wrong. You might have a different answer. I don't have an answer for it because I feel like it's just something that I don't know. I just do.
Yeah.
But if you could give someone some type of advice of how to be confident, stepping out your comfort zone and fucking getting out there and getting it, and just being resilient, what is that, mate? How can you teach that if you can?
Yeah, I don't even think, like you say, is it in you, is it not? You know, it's just having people say I can't do this, can't do that. It's literally in your mind, and it's just your mindset. You know, most things, don't get me wrong, we can't all do everything to the best of whatever it is, but most things you can figure out. Like nothing's ever that bad. Do you know what I mean? It's just literally figure it out. That is just get comfortable being uncomfortable. Like what is the worst that can happen? If you don't know, just find out. That there's endless resources in this day and age to figure it out, isn't there? It's
I think a common theme is setback.
Absolutely, yeah.
Setback. People overlook the setback things. People don't like setbacks.
Yeah,
they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
Doing big business, had a lot of setbacks. Paul, doing good business, big business, a lot of setbacks. Myself, a lot of setbacks.
Yeah.
I was working in pro sport, mate.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, I was working at Halifax Town at the time in the National League with the last game on TV in Europe on BT Sport, which I'm pretty sure hardly anyone watched. But after that, just lose everything. Setback.
Well,
That's how you rise up.
It's maybe not at the time, but suffering and adversity does build character, doesn't it? You might not realise it today, but like now I know it's come up quite a lot today. Stuff I've been through is probably why I'm where I am today and who I am. Do you know what I mean? It's what can you take from it to, like for me, it was like, am I going to wallow for the rest of my life, or am I going to get on with it and make something of my life? Do you know what I mean? And
so knowing that with Kappo as it stands today, what's the ambition? What's the next goal in the next quarter, the next 3 years, 5 years? What's the plan, mate? Where you want to take this?
Yeah, so I don't know, like revenue wise, it's, you know, we did just under 8 last year, 8. So for me, like to just say that, it now feels like nothing, but to say it is mad, because like on these podcasts and used to watch Dragon's Den and things, people are saying, oh, I did a few $100,000 last year and they're offering this for companies. Think, oh, that's mad, that's sick, do you know? So yeah, we've gone from like 50k a year to like 470, 1.7, then 7.9, and then like the goal is endless really. Like the plan is to go way beyond 8 figures this year, and then I want to chase down the big boys. Do you know what I mean? It's
nice.
Not to be competitors as such. I just want to see how far I can take Kappo. Do you know what I mean? It's not that, oh, I want to be where they are, I want to beat them. It's
football analogy, isn't it? I always think business football. Would you be playing for a championship club and going, oh no, we're happy at championship?
Yeah.
Fuck that. Look at Leicester City.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to go in big boys when we get in that league. We're going to win the league, and they fucking went out and did it.
It's more the challenge for me personally, I think, of seeing how far I can take it. Like, I know I mentioned numbers and like honestly, money means nothing to me. It's just like a measuring business, and it's plus like your key metrics and all that stuff, all numbers on a screen. It's like for me now, and that is the realization. I think once you get to a certain point, like you'll probably know, it's just scale and numbers on a screen. Like, can you double it and maintain the same percentages, and how do you do it? It's like if you actually was to break it down in real, like me at times, just in the middle of buying an house and the money involved with that, and then the money in the business. Like business, I'll just right do this. Whereas at house, I'm like, it's just the concept of money in business and life, personal life's a little bit different, isn't it? But yeah, for me, it's just how far can we take it, and not in monetary terms, to be honest. It's like I want to build a brand and like a legacy sort of thing of like it goes beyond. Like, and now that's kind of what we're doing with bringing people in. It's not to sell. Do you know what I mean? Like my business partner kind of wants to sell at some point, whereas don't get me wrong, the day may come where someone says, yeah, and I can't say no. Things. Like people like recently, because we've like been valued and like new experiences for me. Do you know, we've gone through valuations and people are mentioning numbers, and I'm like, what? You know, like nobody wanted to know 2 years ago. And then now it's valued at X, and if you do this, which we've just done, it'll be valued at this. And it's like, and someone actually asked me a couple of weeks ago, like, if someone offered you, like, for example, like 5 million today, would you say? And I said no.
No,
like,
I've got an exit strategy, mate. Paul said it's 25 million.
No, but even, like, genuinely, it isn't. That
it's
isn't what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And
it's
I
the seed that you've planted.
It is, yeah. I want to see how far I can take it. And if I get to the day where I think I can't grow this anymore, or I've just had enough, then maybe. But and I know it sounds easy to say it, because, like, going back, not that I've ever wanted for anything, but financially and money wise, I've not come from anything. Do you know what I mean? It's come from not nothing, but
do the right.
I love that, because it sounds easier now when people watch this back, because I think, well, he's got the money now, so of course he's going to say it about money. But it's like they haven't seen, like we said earlier, the position you were in to get to that point.
Sorry, just to touch on that and sorry to interrupt you on it. It's like, we haven't really, do you know, like, even now we don't take what we could. Do you know, like, I see, you know, probably some of it's for sure, like kids on Instagram that are they're driving around in Lambos, and first sign us, like, technically probably me and Adam could drive around in a Lambo, but it's just not us. Like, it's for what? It's like, it's the business. Do you know what I mean? Business first, and
it
to
shows,
me that's complacency.
It comes across in your brand as that. Like, you can tell, like, with the care and the pieces that you put together, you can tell you're not doing it just for a fast moving consumer good market to say, right, let's make a quick buck here.
Yeah.
You know, you can obviously tell that you're in a position where you genuinely do care about the pieces. I mean, even a small detail is when I message you on WhatsApp to say about the clothing, and it sounds daft, but me to say, can I have specifically, please, Dan, some clothing that's a medium black?
Yeah.
And you've just brought, and it might sound silly, this, right? But even just the thought you're bringing in and thinking about what I'll give him, and bringing it in from a cargo pants to the hoodie to the jacket and whatever, specifically black as well at the same time. Might sound silly to somebody, but it's those little details, like we said, and shout out to Adrian Webster with this, a great friend of mine, and obviously you met him at the event. It's the tiny noticeable things that make the biggest difference.
I know it's like the typical devil in the detail, isn't it? And it is like again leading it back into 1%, and it's all the little things. Like, everyone wants that, or if I do this, then X is going to happen, and it's not going to happen. You know, it's a combination of things, and it's all them little nuggets and 1%. And
what does Dan do? Sorry, go on, Dan. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, just like the shitty day in, day out jobs, isn't it, that no one wants to do, and then all of a sudden things happen. You know, it's.
What does Dan do to switch off? What's his hobby? I mean, we play shitty golf, mate.
Yeah.
But
so one of us does.
Oh, cheers,
mate. Still try and play footy, so it is technically semi-professional. So
still play football at the moment, right?
Yeah, for Clitheroe. So
nice.
Still trying at that.
Position are you?
Centre mid. So I'm moving
Putting
back a
shift.
bit.
Yeah. Are you moving back now?
The hybrid athlete has to.
Moving back a bit as I get older. But
and how old are you? Sorry, Dan. Now?
30 now. Yeah.
30.
31 in April. So yeah.
Nice. What's the vision for Dan then? Like, Dan as a person, like, what's the drive behind yourself now? Forget Kappo.
Yeah.
What are you wanting to achieve yourself in your own life?
Yeah. So again, it is probably work related. Do you know what I mean? That's probably why when people say, "Do you want to sell?" It's like, well, what would I do then? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is after this? Like, for me, it's what fulfills me. It's what I get. Do you know, I get up a bed every day buzzing. You know, because I've worked in a 9 to 5 where I didn't dread getting up every day, but I didn't like now. I'm up, you know, like I want to like maximise, and then when I finish at 5, I know we complain about not switching off, but I do love the fact that it's just on my mind all the time, and seeing how far. Like, I do look at you look at Elon Musk and Bezos and people like that, and you think, how do you get to that level? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know it's way extreme, and I've mentioned like Nike and Zara, but for me, it's like, how far can I get down that road? I might get 2 years down the road and it's all gone tits up. So, but
enjoy it.
Yeah. That for me, it's just living here and now. Do you know what I mean? And then we'll see where we're at in 5 years.
Yeah. If you could give advice then, and we'll start to wrap this up. If you could give advice to businesses who are just starting out, then what's the one key characteristic trait you would say that they need to build a successful brand?
Persistence. Yeah, I would just say persistence. Yeah, I know we've spoke about it quite a bit, but. And there is, I suppose it can tide over into being a bit deluded, and certain people say you should know when to quit. But if you believe in something, it's not going to happen straight away, is it? You've just got to be persistent, and nothing ever happens as fast as we think it should. So just stick at it and be persistent, really, and be resourceful, and adapt and pivot. I know that's quite a few answers to the question, but yeah, persistence really. I would say just stick at it and see where you go.
With me, now that you've become, obviously, success is coming. I don't know how you look at it. Either success is coming, it's already come.
Yeah,
people looking for outside.
Like, being asked, like, genuinely being asked here is like, why? Do you know, like, because people say, like, to me, Kappo isn't. It's not nothing, but do you know what I mean? Like, I look at other people and think, wow, like, I listen.
3 years ago, it's highly successful.
Yeah, like,
right here, right now.
Podcasts of people doing our like numbers now, and I'm like, wow, do you know? And then I don't really let it register that that's what we're doing. Do you know, it's mad, but
obviously taking in on staff and things like that. I ask this to everyone that we have on. How do you control who comes into your circle? Because there's now that you're getting a little bit more success than you were doing 3, 4 years ago. How do you dictate who comes into that circle who has your best intentions?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, because I'm quite, I think, well, like going back to the business side, like your environment's massive, isn't it? The people you surround yourself with, the minds, you know, like what you're reading, what you're listening to. But yeah, in terms of like bringing people in, it's quite difficult because for us it's like the person, do you know what I mean? Because it's quite family orientated and something like we've learned, like not everyone's good natured, do you know, like you're saying, like because Kappo is now getting to a certain point, naively you don't, like, people don't have good intentions, you know, like we've had like people, you know, like you've got to be aware of it now, whereas like it's not really I think everyone's got good intentions, do you know what I mean? It's so that's where like I think the person comes into it, you know, you've got to, well, one, they'd have to fit into our team, which you'd struggle not to really with it being so family orientated, but yeah, it's a learning process for me, to be honest, that we're going through now.
You let a lot of people out of your life, kind of shoved them to the side when success has come.
Yeah,
what were we speaking about? Because what were they saying now? Secretly, there's people in the background who want you to fail.
Yeah.
Rachel, I know
just self kind of gratification that knew it wouldn't work.
Yeah, no,
they'll leave a like on a Facebook post to love out, but they won't be there during the trial.
Or like lads that have, like, people have not. We've had a lot of support. Like some lads that, you know, certain people have bought from us from day one and still buy now. Like we've had some really good support. Do you know what I mean? But then certain people who've like laughed and scoffed and took the piss out of you when you started, like, oh, crap, or it'll never work, this, that and the other, now come and ask for like discount or can I have something, do you know what I mean? It's like, hold on a minute, you didn't want, you know, it is like.
And how do you manage those kind of namesayers and people who might say, oh, it's a lot of shit, you're not going nowhere? How do you manage those kind of people?
I think you just, I don't really pay much attention to it, to be honest. I think when you know what you want and you know who you are, then everybody else's opinion's really irrelevant, and it's as long as you're selective with who's around you, and, you know, like you'll have, like, your people trust your advice, do you know what I mean? You're a mentor, so people come to you. Just be selective with whose advice and opinion that you value, do you know what I mean? People don't always want the best for you, sadly. It's a mad little world, and I think as you get older you realise that, don't you?
I think you can read people, can't you, as you get older as well?
Yeah. I
think if you've got a good character behind you, like your background's very similar to mine, where I from nothing and just try to build it up. I think you can see that with individuals. I don't know if it's a northern thing or there's northerners kind of get that kind of feel from who's there to piggyback and who's not. And going back, like I said, Nate says, I totally agree with that. I think if you've got a passion and something to do, once they've made their comment, they fucking forgot about you anyway. Yeah. They've gone home with their sorry little lives to fucking have passed on about someone else's. Why the fuck should it affect yours? Yeah.
Well, there's that saying, isn't there, that no one doing better than you'll ever put you down, sort of thing.
Yeah, you never see that.
It's people that are. So let them get on with it.
One reason why we're doing this, to try get into the minds of people like yourself and understand.
Yeah, well, that's part of what, you know, like when you say about starting, you know, because I think, well, why does anyone listen to us or what we're doing? Because I then look at other people, do you know what I mean? But then I think, well, actually, as people look at us and think, how do I do that? Do you know,
and people like look at this.
We're all just normal lads. That's
absolutely, and I think that's authenticity. We spoke about it on Rachel's podcast. I think what's got me, you, and all those who I see in business who are successful, even yourself, is the authenticity of being who you are. Because when I first started my business, it's cringy if I watch back videos of advertising when I'm doing this, like trying to be someone else. It never really worked. When you're authentic and you're just your true self, and look, I swear a lot, everyone knows that, right? But I can't fucking change for anyone, do you know what I mean? I'm just who I am, and that's allowed me to grow in my life and in my business. And like I said, the reason why we do this podcast, and I'm very going to sound beginning to say this, I know this podcast is going to, even when we first started, we'll look back at this first episode and go, shit, how have we got so many subscribers now? How's it got so big? But it's from a place of passion. I feel like when you have a place of passion in place, that's that little piece of fire or flame that you know can ignite to fucking whatever it needs to be. This gets me away from business, so my focus isn't always there. I have that freedom. But if you just follow that and you speak to people like yourself and you follow that passion and you're authentic with it, everything in your life just starts to fall into place.
Yeah, that's it. As long as you're like passionate and like you say, everything does seem to fall into place. Do you know what I mean? It's that persistence as well. It's we all think it needs to be mapped out, don't we? Or nothing ever is. It's just wing it, basically. That's the advice.
Structured winging it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. Everybody has to wing it at the start.
Yeah,
you have to wing it at the start.
Bite down the gum shield and fucking get out there.
Yeah. Do you reckon that's why you've got a lot of family in your business then? Because there is that trust.
Yeah, definitely. Like I know, like with me and Adam joke. Like I know I'm not exactly old, but like we get young kids in now, and it's like they're on the phone all the time, or do you know? And I know it's the way of the world, but like my aunties, my mum, that older generation, they're like they do what they're doing. Right, have you got anything else? Do you know what I mean? It's that mindset of them. Do you know? And it's kids now, they just want to do the bare minimum.
Is it brought any frictions between the family?
Not really, luckily, no. To be honest, no. I don't think it has. We were lucky, really, with both the families we've got.
It's exciting for them all, isn't it, really?
That's for us. Like I think that's a big part of the brand, because every little job that gets done, because a lot of it's done by family, they take care of it. You know, like even things you probably wouldn't think. You know, repackaging stuff or an email. Do you know that little detail?
Where a certain sticker's placed on a packaging and stuff.
Just doing a job won't go that extra mile like we have throughout the business, people going over and above, you know.
Can't buy that stuff.
Yeah, but we're on a point now where we have no family left to employ. So.
We'll get the Lowell's growing up.
Yeah, we have to keep procreating.
Lowell, start to wrap this up. We always wrap it over a bit of fun, mate. But like I said, just to summarise it, I'd say before we dive into those questions, like it's so good to have you on. I feel people when they're watching this are really going to take a lot away from it, because to say no fashion background, no business background, just a small little piece of idea that you thought you could turn into something else, and fucking biting down your grub shield, great determination, and banging on that door and knowing that things are falling down and you need to build it back up again, and then going through things personally, losing your brother, losing your dad, which can knock you back 20, 30, 40 steps. Honestly, mate, I want to say this myself, and I'm sure you tell your piece as well, but you're an absolute fucking credit to yourself, mate. Like, out of everyone who I've spoken to, I think everyone's great, but I think you do define why we do the podcast like this called Greatness on Demand and being great, because you've got it switched on, you know what you want, you know how you're going to get there in the sense of your actions, and you're not scared of fucking losing, because you know that it's only 3 points lost next week, I'll win the 3 points after, and I'll continue to climb the table.
It's like now, obviously, because we're relative success, but like we're literally in a period now where we're like reinvesting again, like we're like new staff, do you know what I mean? We probably could have not done without it, but like my point is now all the work going on now is to kick on again. It's not like, oh, let's count the chickens sort of thing and everyone pat each other on back. It's like there's a lot of work and reinvestment going on. Like we're really pushing the boundaries, really, like cash flow and things like that. We're trying to do it all now, but then back end of this year we're probably going to see the rewards of that, you know. And it's always having that long-term vision, I think.
We'll link this, like I said, we'll link the below this video and everywhere. Kappo, check them out. I know you've got trainers, you said, coming out, which I've seen, which are fucking unreal, mate. The pieces you give me today. So honestly, mate, it's been unreal, this conversation.
No, really honestly, it's like I say, for me, it's stepping out my comfort zone, which again, it's like, because I'm into personal development and stuff, it's way out my comfort zone. So.
When you talk personal development, what do you do personal development wise, just before we wrap up?
Podcast, really. Like I know everyone reading, like I have bad attention with reading, like I'll read a page and I'm lost, you know what I mean? I have no attention anymore. But yeah, I love my podcast, to be honest. So, plus like a gym, stuff like that. For me, it's like mentally challenging. But yeah, no, my personal development stuff, probably podcast. Like not really courses or whatever. I probably should do more of it. But yeah, just doing new things as well. Really, it's traveling but predominantly podcasts. Yeah, so
nice, mate.
Next big one here.
Right, mate. Right, let's wrap this up with some bit of fun. If you could invite anyone alive, dead or alive, mate, 3 people to a dinner table, who would you invite? Why?
Conor McGregor, just for his mindset.
Yeah.
I know it comes across as a bit of an idiot, but yeah, no, his mindset. Messi, because he's best player ever, and my dad. One more meal.
Nice. So when you say Messi, I'm going back to that as well. That's controversial, right? So you think Messi's better than Ronaldo? Are you a Messi?
Yeah.
Messi?
100%. Yeah.
What's your reasoning?
Don't get me wrong, I think Ronaldo, they're both out on their own, but Messi's just does things that...
See, I don't even look at it on the pitch. I just look at how they hold themselves.
Yeah.
One's very much cocky with it, and one's just...
But yeah, I say that, but then I do think Ronaldo in business, like... business-wise, you can relate a lot of him to business. Like, he's got the absolute best out of himself, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Just by, like, the gym stuff, the extra work, and... but yeah, football-wise, Messi, definitely. Nice.
If you're a celebrity, you've got to final, you've got to choose your final meal, your starter, your main dessert. What does Dan choose?
Starter, main dessert. Gambas pill to start.
Lovely. Salt
and pepper chicken, and then chocolate cake and custard to finish.
That's what money I've got to in there, like I
said. No fancy stuff.
One thing, if you could have one wish to happen in the next 5 years for your business, to make that a guarantee. One wish, rubber genie lamp. So you've got one wish to guarantee something to happen for your business the next 5 years. What's that one wish? Tough fun questions.
I know, yeah. So in the next 5 years, break 50 million in revenue. But give me 3 years, not 5.
Nice.
I love that.
And then wrapping this up for everyone listening, what would you say to those then that are watching this, knowing your story, knowing what you've been through, mate, trials, tribulations, wins, highs, lows, challenges? Any advice you'd give to not just people in e-commerce, in life, in business, of how they can find their inner greatness?
Yeah, just whatever your passion is, just give it a go. Like, I know people can get in their own head about things, or look at people and think they must be special or they must have X. Like, again, going back to Ronaldo and people, but they're just relentless, and they just start. Do you know what I mean? Just start. Why wait? You know, again, the life experiences I've had of, you might not be here tomorrow. I know it's extreme, but just start. Like, that is literally it, isn't it? It's just start and figure it out. There's no like magic pill or blueprint. Just find your own way.
Starts with an idea in a car on your way to footy with you, mate.
Exactly.
Lovely.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.